Hello again. We are Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to preview Alabama's road trip to Knoxville to face Tennessee. You may catch that 2:30 Central on ABC. Bet Online has Alabama as a 2.5-point favorite as we do this Monday morning with an over-under of 56.5 points. That makes for a predicted final score of Alabama 30, Tennessee 27. My model has got Alabama by about a half point. Chase, interesting game for both teams. Neither playing as well as it would like. Alabama's had a crazy last three games, beating Georgia, losing to Vandy, nearly blowing a home game with South Carolina with a big lead. Tennessee, on the other hand, lost to Arkansas, follow that up with having to need overtime to beat Florida as about a 15-point favorite. I don't think either team is exactly where it wants to be coming into this game, but boy, whoever wins this one is going to be feeling great about its season in a game that, frankly, if you win, you're in the driver's seat for a playoff berth. If you lose, it's going to be a tough climb to get back there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you talk about two one-loss teams, I feel like anytime you only have one loss and you meet another team with one loss, you're in a must-win situation. And I think that's the situation here. It's going to be hard for both of these teams with two losses. I feel like to get where they want to go. I mean, we're in a position there's going to be a lot of two-loss teams, and frankly, you don't want to be in that position. And so this game is huge for both teams. It's in Knoxville. We saw Florida come into Knoxville and take Tennessee to overtime last week. So I think this is going to be a very, very exciting game Saturday afternoon in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Let's start the matchup with when Alabama's got the ball, and I will give you the numbers. I don't even know what the numbers mean anymore. This has been such a crazy season, but here they are. Alabama's offense averaging 41.7 points a game on 60 snaps, a 2.5% turnover rate. That's not ideal. Bama runs it 56% of the time. It gets 5.8 yards per running play, which takes sacks out of it. 9.4 yards per passing play, 7.4 yards total. Tennessee's defense, one of the best in the country statistically and with the eye test as well. The Vols giving up 10.7 points a game on just 62 snaps. Tennessee forcing turnovers 2.5% of the time. Teams will run it 54% of the time against the Vols. Just 2.8 yards per rushing play, 5.5 per passing play for 4 yards even per play. I think for Alabama, everything starts with discipline and Jalen Milroe avoiding turnovers and just dumb plays, just being locked in. When this offense is on, it might be the toughest in the country to stop, but it has stopped itself at times lately.
Yeah, penalties have been a big issue, and turnovers as well, putting the other team in positions to score points. We saw that against Vanderbilt, pick six early in the game, puts you down 13-0, and then they turn the ball over against South Carolina. And so, yeah, I think turnovers and penalties are big right now, but, this is a very good offense. Jalen Milroe is a very good quarterback. He moves well. He's got a great arm. He's got some great receivers to throw to, and they're getting some more guys involved now, I feel like, which is a very good thing. You can't just count on Ryan Williams to make all the plays. He can make plays when you need him to, but you got to get other guys involved too, and I think they've done a good job getting the tight ends involved as well. And so I think this is a very good offense. They saw a very good defensive front and pass rush against South Carolina, and they're going to turn around and see another great pass rush, a great defensive line this week against Tennessee. So back-to-back weeks, they're going to see a lot of pressure, which I think is very interesting to see how this Alabama offense, and especially the offensive front, is able to handle that.
I have two questions on this side of the matchup I want to hear you address, and they involved Alabama's ability to protect Milroe against Tennessee's pass rush. And then the other one will be just Tennessee's ability to stop a downfield passing game, because I don't think they've seen one like this. Before I get into that, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting, every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. With the largest collection of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, and political props. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today. Get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, sacks, I think, could be a big stat in this game. Tennessee has registered 12. I think the Vols probably capable of more than that. Alabama has given up 12. The offensive line has been an issue at times, although that was maybe more earlier in the season than later. Then again, for Tennessee, I think the concern coming in was the secondary. 5.5 yards per pass is a good number, but some of that was also padded with Kent State and some other teams. I mean, the best offense that the Tennessee's faced in the past so far, I mean, maybe that was Florida when Mertz was behind center. I mean, point is they haven't faced a passing game like Alabama can give you with Ryan Williams. So I think both teams have got some questions in terms of this side of the matchup.
Yeah, and the offensive line for Alabama, there has been inconsistency there. I think they're a good unit. They just, this is going to be a huge test. And again, we saw that last week with South Carolina. They've got a very good defensive front, and so they're going to be challenged again this week. Can they give Milroe time is a huge question. He needs time to be able to get those big downfield passes that I think that Alabama can exploit in the secondary of Tennessee. And so, it kind of works with each other. If the offensive line of Alabama can give Milroe time, then he has time to work and get it downfield to a Ryan Williams or one of these receivers downfield. And I think Alabama will be able to get the big plays. I think Tennessee's defense has not seen what Alabama can do offensively when they're clicking. And so, I think that's where a lot of this matchup, where a lot of the points can come from. Can this offensive line hold up and give Milroe enough time to work? And can Tennessee's defense adjust to what they're going to see with the Alabama offense?
All right, here's some stats for Tennessee. And I think that the overall stats, I'm not sure how much meaning they have. I will dig in on these a little bit because, boy, the production is really varying with the competition. But on the whole, Tennessee has scored 42.2 points a game. The Vols average 74 snaps a game. I believe that is second behind just Arkansas in the SEC. Yeah, that's the case. Turn it over 1.6% of the time. Tennessee runs the ball on 59% of its snaps, where it averages 5.9 yards per rush. 7.5 yards per pass play, 6.5 yards per snap for that offense. Alabama's defense is allowing 20.8 points a game on 74 snaps. That's a concern, is Alabama's defense being on the field. Now, some of that's the offense scores so quickly, but that's interesting. A defense that stays on the field a lot against a team that's on the field a lot. Now, Alabama does force turnovers for all the questions about the defense, 2.7% of the time. That's an excellent number. It allows 4.0 yards per run, 5.3 per pass, 4.6 per play. On a per play basis, this defense is really putting up some super numbers. Now, the eye test, you got some concerns as you watch them, and that can be said at Tennessee too. Billy Napier just flat out said, hey, we want to get this team in passing situations and make them throw the ball. Here are the per play numbers for Tennessee this year: 8.0 against Chattanooga, 6.9 against NC State, 9.2 against Kent State, 4.7 against Oklahoma, 5.2 against Arkansas, and then 6.5 against Florida. So, yeah, I mean, this is an offense that really is going to want to get the ball to Dylan Sampson as much as possible. In the meantime, Alabama has struggled a little bit with teams that have had mobile quarterbacks. We saw what Diego Pavia did. Different offense than Tennessee will show, but Tennessee's got a mobile quarterback, and I think that's going to be another focal point along with Dylan Sampson of what Tennessee will want to do to get Alabama in mismatches.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's going to be Tennessee's game plan. Let's try to run the ball at Alabama and make them stop us. I thought the game plan for Alabama against Georgia was interesting, where they brought so much pressure and they really stopped the run game. We haven't seen that since. Maybe that's what they're going to do this week, to force Nico into making decisions, quick decisions, and making him turn the ball over. That may be the what Alabama defensively is trying to do. But look, I love Dylan Sampson. I think he's a great running back, and when you have a guy like that and Nico, who can run the ball as well, like, I think you have an advantage offensively to run the ball and to run the clock. And so I'm interested to see what Tennessee does and how Alabama's defense responds, because again, we saw a different the first half of the Georgia game for Alabama was solid defensively against a good offense. We haven't really seen that since. And I'm interested to see what the game plan will be. But, I think Nico can, if he's able to pick inside the secondary of Alabama, because I think there's a lot of youth there in that Alabama secondary, Nico's able to get the ball in there and complete some passes there, I think that could definitely bode well for Tennessee. But this is an interesting matchup just because what Florida was able to do to Tennessee offensively and stopping them. You got to imagine Alabama's really been watching what they were able to do in order to do that, as was Arkansas. So, this is an interesting side of the matchup as well, to see if this Alabama defense can play their assignments and play really strong football against Nico, who is a good quarterback, and get that run game, or stop that run game, I guess, if you're Alabama's defense.
Well, let's go back 2 weeks. Arkansas showed a little bit of a blueprint. It would just drop a bunch of guys in coverage. Tennessee's had trouble getting receivers open, and Nico just kind of sits back there and waits and waits and waits for something to happen. And too many times recently it hasn't. I think that is a way, you've seen some teams get pressure with the 3-man, 4-man rush at times against this offensive line, which has not played great of late.
You're right, and that's going to be a focal point, I feel like, in this game. I mean, and for both teams, like, I don't want to say their backs against the wall, but they're in a position again where they need a win, like we talked about at the top. And so, does that change the game plan? I'm interested to see, because like, you want to win these games, and the strengths for one team may be the weakness of the other. And so I think that's what makes this matchup so interesting, is because what one team does well, the other can counter that in a different way. So this is fascinating to see what each team is going to do and how they're going to approach this game.
All right, let's get into picks and why. I'll start with you.
I pick. This was hard for me. I do think Alabama goes on the road, gets the win over Tennessee. I think they have the ability to force Nico into some bad situations. I think a lot depends on if Tennessee can put together some long drives. That will definitely help them. That's something, again, Alabama has given up a lot of long drives this year and kind of ran out of time at points to do big things. So I do think Alabama gets the stops they need, and again, the offense is able to do some big things, and I think Alabama goes on the road and gets the win. Close one, but they get a win.
I think it's going to be big plays at big times, and I think Tennessee's third down defense is number one in the conference. I think that's a big stat. I think Alabama has just been undisciplined at times. You saw Malachi Moore. I remember the last time Malachi Moore against Vandy 2 weeks ago. Everybody's seen that by now. But I just remember last time they were there, Alabama had so much problem with pre-snap penalties, if I remember that right. And penalties have been an issue for this team. It is going to be deafening in Knoxville. I worry about discipline issues being competent. And look, to be fair, Tennessee has had some issues with penalties too and with breakdowns. But I think that the fact that it's in their building, that we remember what happened there last time, it just feels to me, and I don't give this pick with any confidence, but I probably was going to take the home team, and I'll take it there, especially with Alabama's defense being on the field so much. But in any case, those are our predictions for this week. Be sure and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Oreo's got an objection to this, I think. I don't know what it is. He'll tell me later. But in any case, be sure to check us out after the game. We'll do a live stream sometime after all the night's games are over, so check that out. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.